the Miami Heat's master plan coming together? This man right here, Pat Riley, did his vision actually go the way he saw it? And are the Heat moving forward in a good spot? This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. We'll explain what I mean here in just a second. But I gotta be shameless here, folks. It is my birthday. August 9th, 2000 was the day I was born. And I love the Heat fans. I love spending every single day with the Heat fans here at the channel going live. And I would like a little birthday present of 24 subs. Why is it 24? Well, I'm turning 24 years old. So can we get 24 subs on this show? We put out daily content here at the Heat Report, so you're not going to regret subscribing to the show anyway. All right, let's get into the actual meats and potatoes of today's episode because we're talking about the master plan that the Heat front office could have saw, and I think it's very important to go look at the recap of the NBA offseason for Miami because they didn't make a ton of moves. They really only had 3 people join this roster and 3 people leave. Kel'el Ware and Pelle Larsson were the Heat's draft picks in the 2024 NBA draft. And then the lone outside free agent that Miami ended up signing was Alec Burks, formerly of the Pistons and New York Knicks. Now, those 3 players replaced Caleb Martin, who went to the Philadelphia 76ers, Delon Wright, who went to the Milwaukee Bucks, and Patty Mills, who is still a current NBA free agent out there right now. So 3 people out, 3 people in. And even though I like Burks, I like Kel'el Ware quite a bit, and I'm interested by Pelle Larsson, it's pretty obvious that the Heat's roster didn't improve by that much. It's really just the same crew as last year with a couple new rookies and a veteran shooter off the bench to replace Caleb Martin. So you're really banking on your own guys to really take a step forward, and that's how the upgraded roster is supposed to be, if you will, because there really wasn't that many additions to this crew, and I don't really think that we can sit up here and say, wow, these are really big changes that Miami made that is really going to improve this team. Well, let me know as we progress here. I do have some takes here on the Heat's roster, but what is your rating for the Heat roster? Scale it 1 to 10, no rookie scores. I want decimals. In the past, I've graded it at a 7.1, which is fine, above average, a playoff team, but nothing absolutely special. So, we asked the question, is the Heat's master plan coming together? Well, you might want to ask me and ask yourself, what do I think the Heat's plan is? Well, to me, it feels like the Heat's plan is banking on major improvements from their in-house players, like Kel'el Ware coming into the mix as a rookie and being very good, but Jaime Jaquez Jr. taking a step up, Nikola Jovic taking a third-year leap, getting more production from Bam Adebayo, maybe a healthy Tyler Hero, Haywood Highsmith improving. But the one player that I think they are banking on the most to be a pivotal piece from last year to this year is not one of the young guys. It's actually Terry Rozier, the person that they traded a future first-round pick and Kyle Lowry for to get 2 weeks before the NBA trade deadline back in February. Because Rozier was the first guy they really traded at for the deadline until, what was it, Iguodala and Jay Crowder in the 2019-2020 season. So it was a long time until they made a move. And Rozier was finally starting to get his feet under him in Miami prior to that neck injury that ended his season about a week or 2 before the end of the regular season, and then obviously forced him to miss all the playoff games. Remember, Rozier actually started very bad in Miami. He was averaging 14, 15 points a game, shooting under 35% from the field and under 25% from 3. But then he got going, and then in his 31 games in a Heat uniform last season, he ended up averaging 16 while having pretty decent efficiency. So I think they're banking on him to be able to do that for another year. And I will be honest, I am intrigued to see what a full season of Terry Rozier in a Heat uniform looks like. And I think it's an underrated part of the trades in the NBA of like getting used to playing with your teammates, right? Like Rozier was thrown into this team with Jimmy, Bam, Hero, and he had to try to find his way and what his role with the squad was. Well, now that he's going to have a full NBA offseason of training with them, being with them in training camp, getting the season started with them in October, I think he'll have a more clear defined role, which will only kind of result in better results for Terry Rozier and this Heat roster. So I am intrigued to see what he can bring to the table for Miami in his second year, but I do have my doubts of a Hero and Rozier backcourt working. You'll see that video tomorrow. That's a really fun one. But coming up here in just a second, what's the Heat's future plan? Because we kind of know what their plan is for this year, but is there more things in the work when you look at this team and roster building for the next 3 to 4 years? I have some thoughts on that. But we are sponsored by Game Time, the best place to go get tickets. Whether you're going to a concert, a sporting event, a comedy show, theater, it does not matter. You need to get Game Time to make sure you're getting the best price guaranteed when you're purchasing your tickets. I use Game Time every single time I go to an event, no matter where I am, whether it's in Dallas, Texas, where we're located, when I was back home in Rochester, New York, it doesn't matter. They have flash deals, which allow you to save even more money with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of your individual game or event. They have seat views, which is my personal favorite part. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, which means you will not be blindsided by any poles or obstructions when you get to your seat, because we know that can be an absolute hassle. Lowest price guaranteed as well, folks. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper price for that same exact seat on a different ticketing app. Game Time's the best. So download the app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I got to be honest. I kind of might see the Heat's vision. Now, let's just say this. It might not be the best vision or best plan, but I kind of see where Miami's heading with their current roster building. And we'll start with Mr. Jimmy Butler, because they could have given him a 2-year Supermax extension, which would have guaranteed next year rather than being a player option, and then just added 1 more year onto his deal, making him under contract guaranteed for this year and 2 more seasons after that. But not doing that, it's pretty obvious that Pat Riley and this Heat front office is pushing Jimmy Butler into a career year in the regular season as a member of the Miami Heat, because he is entering his final year of his contract. And there is a realistic scenario here, folks, where this is Jimmy Butler's final year in a Heat uniform. Do I want that to be the case? Not really. I want Jimmy to stay with Miami until he retires, and I want them to try to field a better roster that can compete in the Eastern Conference and with the big-time players in the Western Conference as well. But they're basically saying, Jimmy, we know you want to get paid. You haven't been able to play more than 65 games a year. We're not paying you. You better play 70-plus games and give it your all in the regular season, and then we can reward you with the money. And that's kind of the 2 avenues that this situation can go with Jimmy Butler. Number 1, the one I just laid out. Jimmy Butler takes that to heart, gets pissed at the Heat front office, but not in a bad way. Not like the Minnesota Timberwolves Jimmy Butler or the 76ers Jimmy. Just like takes it as a little bit of disrespect and says, you think I can't play 70 games and give you an all-NBA regular season? I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go out, play 25 or average 25 a game, play 70-plus, and lead us to a top 5, top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference during the regular season. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is, well, that number 1 option could still happen, but number 2 is that they end up letting Jimmy walk and go into a full youth movement. You get $50 million coming off the books, and you kind of get more flexibility in your cap space and just start trying to build a roster around a Bam, Jovic, Jaquez, Kel'el Ware if they're able to show something this year that makes the front office say, well, maybe we should go that route. Which we'll talk more about here after this question, but this is the most pressing question around the Miami Heat coming up into this season, if we're going to be honest here, folks. Will Jimmy Butler be in Miami next year? Not this upcoming season. I'm talking 25-26 season, type Y for yes or type N for no. Well, I don't want to give you my official prediction right now because there's a lot of factors in play with how this can actually play out on the court. But I'll say this. If Jimmy Butler ends up leaving the Heat after this year, and the Heat do a sign and trade with them, because if you look ahead the next year, there really is any team that has the cap space to take in Butler's preferred 2-year Supermax contract, so it would have to be a sign and trade where Miami would get at least something back in return. Now, it wouldn't be a full big-time package that you'd get if you just trade Jimmy Butler right now straight up, but either way, if Jimmy ends up leaving the Heat's organization next year in a sign and trade, the Heat would get some assets back. They would also get to reset a little bit of their cap situation and lean into that Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Bam Adebayo, and Kel'el Ware youth movement and ride those 4 guys to the future of this team. And I got to be honest, like, I want Jimmy. I said that a little bit earlier. But this could be a smart move for the Miami Heat in their building of their roster for the next 3 to 4 years. Why is it smart, you might ask? Well, the financial flexibility letting Jimmy Butler go could create would allow you to gain draft capital. You can get some first round picks and second round picks in that Jimmy Butler sign and trade potentially that allow you to be flexible for the next star that comes available on the trade market. One thing that we've always said here is that even when stars come available, for the Miami Heat, they don't have enough assets to go beat out other teams like a Houston, like Brooklyn. But if you let Jimmy Butler walk, your cap space becomes much more allow you to take in a bigger contract. Plus, you could also make trades where you get picks and take on bad contracts for a year. Remember, just think about what just happened with Terry Rozier in Charlotte, right? The Hornets got a first-round pick and Kel'el Ware, who was an expiring deal for Rozier. The Heat could start to load off some of those assets, like a Duncan Robinson if he ends up increasing his value, a Tyler Hero, a Rozier too, and get a first-round pick and expiring salary, which just will allow you to create more assets to get that next star. And you will ask yourself, well, who's going to be that next star, right? Sorry, folks. I had to do it. We made a full show about it yesterday. Anthony Edwards could be that guy. Now, I'm not predicting it, but after seeing Bill Simmons mention that Ant has a really good affection for Eric Spoelstra, Bam Adebayo, those two are always hanging out for Team USA. And then Dan Lebitard also kind of mentioning the same thing yesterday as well, saying that if Glenn Taylor ends up keeping or getting the ownership of the Timberwolves, the GM and president of Minnesota's basketball will end up leaving because his contract is with Alex Rodriguez, who's expected to be the new owner of the T-Wolves. So if that doesn't end up happening, it goes back to Glenn Taylor, well, then the GM of the Timberwolves could leave, and so could Anthony Edwards. That's kind of what Lebitard speculated yesterday. So it would not shock me if in 2 or 3 years, whenever this ownership situation in Minnesota is resolved, that Anthony Edwards could ask out. You also add in the fact that I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert are that good of running mates for him to get over the hump in the Western Conference with how good some of these other teams are getting, like Dallas, OKC, and the rising San Antonio Spurs. Like in 2 years, could Anthony Edwards ask out? And if the Heat play their cards right, get some of their young talent to improve, Jimmy Butler walks, you get more draft assets, you have a lot of cap space. Maybe that's the plan for Miami. Compete this year, reset the next year and a half, and then go all in for like another star like Anthony Edwards to come out in the trade market in 2 to 3 years. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of a different content. Hit that sub button because we do news, we do rumors, we do segments like this. 2 fun shows coming out over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, so stay tuned for that. I talked Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier backcourt. I also talked specifically Jaime Jaquez Jr. on Sunday, so be on the lookout for that. But also hit that sub button. Remember, 24 subs for your boy's 24th birthday. Let's do it.